I don't think I have too much else to think about. All right. So the silence. And 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Morning Skate Podcast. I'm Matt Moody, joined by Doug Levy to cover a pretty large Tuesday slate in the NHL. Doug, how you doing?
I am well. Yeah, 11 game slate today. It's going to be pretty huge. Lots of ownership all over the place. I'd say the day would be marked by the return of Erik Karlsson, but I think we have a lot of news and notes to talk about. But yeah, I'm excited. How are you doing?
Pretty well. It's been a rather interesting weekend of hockey, I would say. Finally watched the Sabres get their first win on Sunday night against the Anaheim Mighty Zombies. So that was always fun. Still looking for that first big hit in the DFS landscape. So yeah, I would say let's just get into it. There'll be no DJ today. He is busy being a real person, surprisingly. So we'll have him back for Thursday's show. So yeah, let's get started here. The first game that we're going to cover on this, well, actually, let's just go through the games before we dive in one by one. So the slate we're looking at: Pittsburgh at the Rangers, Florida at Philadelphia, Toronto at Washington, which, I mean, if that's not a 7 over under, I'm not sure what they're waiting for. Tampa at New Jersey, Vancouver at Ottawa, Colorado at Nashville. Tampa's on a back-to-back at New Jersey. I forgot to mention that. They're the only game in action on Monday night, so keep that in mind. Columbus at Winnipeg, Arizona at Dallas, Carolina at Edmonton, Buffalo at Vegas, and Montreal at San Jose. So, yeah, I mean, does any game really catch your eye before we dive into the news and notes of each game?
I think you made a good point about Toronto, Washington. I mean, that's one I want to keep an eye on, but they should be a 7 over under. It looks like their opening line is only a 6 over under. So, especially with a lot of games, I think that, yeah, trying to like solidify what games you want to target and not spread yourself too thin on a slate like this is important. So, yeah, that's definitely one I'm looking at. Pitt Rangers is another one. Two teams going head to head that are in bottom 5 in terms of expected goals against per 60. So two teams that give up a ton of high quality scoring chances. I'm going to be looking to target that game for sure. I think it's going to be high scoring, and there's a lot of players on those teams that I'm interested in. Buffalo, Vegas could be interesting as well, just because of the toilet bowl going on there.
But that might be the legit toilet bowl. But
yeah,
we'll see. It's still early, as the old Buffalo fans like to say. So yeah, let's
DJ would
start.
DJ would say that Vegas has a 98% chance of making the playoffs at this point, and New Jersey is going to finish with more points than the Washington Capitals this season, as every team will.
All facts. So, yeah, you made a great point. Pittsburgh at New York Rangers. So far to begin the year, in very small sample size, both teams have been atrocious defensively. I don't think that should be too much of a surprise. Even last year, Pittsburgh did all of their damage on offense, like still had a pretty mediocre defense. And the Rangers are the Rangers. Like, that's just kind of what they do. They do a lot of their best work in transition. And right now, they're not doing any good work at all. So it's tough because, you're looking at a Pittsburgh team, you're not getting any discounts on any of them, really. I think Kessel's fine at the mid 6K range, but I mean, you're looking at Crosby, Malkin. Of course, they're two of the higher price centers on the slate. Yeah, so I think the only real news that I could find from the weekend is that because of their horrendous start, Nashville is kind of switching their lines up as they should be, and they're rolling out Rick Nash with Zibanejad and Zuccarello. I know we talked about Zuccarello as a strong fantasy asset to watch for to begin the season.
Right.
He's been
You mean the Rangers, right? You said Nashville.
right. Oh, yeah, I was looking at Nash, Rick Nash.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I thought that's probably what you were doing. Yes, the Rangers. Those
yeah,
players all play for the Rangers.
nah, giant trade blockbuster going down. Um, so Zuccarello has been downright atrocious to start the year, but you're getting him at 4.8 on DraftKings. Like he's still playing over 20 minutes a night. It is very rare that you'll find forwards that are playing even 20 minutes a night, let alone last 4 games 22, 20, 20, 22. Like he is consistently above that mark. He is very cheap. Um, like he's even a point per game almost at this point, despite just his poor possession numbers and a god awful plus minus. So that's really the main spot I'm looking to for this game. Doug, any thoughts on Pittsburgh at the Rangers?
Yeah, from the Pittsburgh side, a couple notes to that now that I'm looking at the sim. I mean, one, the sim is picking out an ownership discrepancy between Crosby and Malkin that I think could leave Malkin looking pretty enticing. I mean, he's a little bit cheaper, but the upside that he has isn't that much lower than Crosby's is. So I think a little bit of leverage you could get into there, playing Malkin over Crosby. The other thing, if we're looking just in terms of potential to meet their salary-based expectation, Brian Dumoulin, nope, not playing power play, but I've actually been employing him early this year with decent success. I mean, he's only 3K, but he's playing first line. He gets a decent amount of minutes. Sim likes him as the highest player to exceed floor. Justin Schultz, 4.2, playing on power play. It looks like he played power play one.
He
He played
should be on the first power play. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
been
he played
noticing
with
that.
Crosby, Letang, Malkin, Kessel on the power play one last game against Florida. So that's one I really like. Um, a little bit higher salary, but I mean, if you're looking for basement like bargain bin guys that shoot the puck enough to break a 3K salary marker, I don't hate Dumoulin either. So yeah, those are kind of my takes on Pittsburgh. As far as the Rangers, I don't have anything super great. I mean, I think the good point is to keep a track of those lines if they're going to be switching the lines up, get those extra minutes in. But yeah, that's kind of my take from there.
Yeah, I mean,
Who's go ahead?
yeah, it's interesting to kind of see the Pittsburgh power play early on in the year. It looks like Schultz is playing with Crosby, Malkin, Kessel, but then that last spot is really rotated pretty quickly. I mean, as the season's gone, it's been Kessel, it's been Hornqvist, it's been Sheary, and it's even been like Letang with Schultz on that first power play. So I don't know if we're gonna have like a concrete like power play. I'm not seeing anything from practice this morning or on Monday morning, and you don't typically see that on game days, but you could. So maybe keep an eye on that. But if Justin Schultz even has the opportunity to be on that first power play, his price has gotten to the point where I think he's cash viable. Um, I think given the other options on the slate, I would rather fade Letang, especially in cash games. But he's always an option just get because he plays a ton of minutes, and just a generally really good player. But yeah, I think for me it's mostly that first line of the Rangers, just because I love targeting Pittsburgh on defense because they play such a high event game, along with Kevin Shattenkirk on defense, who should be their power play quarterback. If I did not mention it, Nash, Zibanejad, and Zuccarello all practice together on the first power play on Monday, so you can expect to see that tonight as well. So let's go on to Florida at Philadelphia. The main news from the Florida end is despite a reasonably strong beginning of the year in terms of expected goals for and against at 5-on-5, they're switching up their first line, replacing Evgeny Dadonov with Radim Verbata. Doug, I know Sim loves Verbata, so just talk about Verbata a bit.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. I don't know if Fantasy Labs has it updated yet, so I'm probably not giving it justice. But yeah, I mean, already the sim loves Rabada. I think it's the frequency that he can score to his upside that it really likes. I don't have his stats directly in front of me, but we were talking. I talked about the what did we decide? His pickle rating or his pickle something would be his is the new stat that we're using, which kind of combines their frequency along with how often they score as well. And yeah, the sim loves him in terms of that as well. I mean, at 4.6, he's kind of he's going to be a juicy play there. Yeah, it still has Dadonov above Rabada, so keep an eye on the sim tomorrow. See where those guys end up falling once they take into account the line changes.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like Florida's been short of goals this year. It's been mostly defensive, their struggles. I mean, they're technically 2 wins, 2 losses, but that's just NHL coaches. They like to change things up. And in less than 15 minutes a night, Rabada still put up over 3 fantasy points per game. 4-game sample, whatever. But look at last year, Rabada was easily the best shot producer on the Coyotes. Year before that, on the Canucks, he was, again, one of the best shot producers in the entire NHL. Like, this guy is a fantasy, he's not a monster, I would say, but he's a supreme fantasy value at only 4.6, playing with Barkov and Huberdeau. So that should get him up into the 17, 18-minute range, even without power play one time, which I cannot confirm nor deny because I'm just surprised we even got Florida power play or even strength lines because they never tweet those out. Rabada is a very strong value for cash games. Anything on the Philly side jump out to you, Doug?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking before, but Jakub Voracek, who's been playing great this season so far, another sim favorite every time around. But we were chatting before and trying to figure out why he was so great. And I think it's sort of maybe a sneakier thing that he's so great at that makes his floor so high. I think he's a great cash play because of that. He very often gets ranked in his floor stats along with defensemen. Like, that's just how great he is. And it has to do with his shooting on the power play. I mean, look, he's not a league leading shooter in general 5-on-5, but when he's on that power play, I think he's number 3 on the slate in terms of over the last year shots per game on the power play. So, I mean, talk about something that, well, I mean, they're going to be power plays more than likely. And if he's going to be out there, he's going to be getting shots. So I love him as a more expensive cash winger option. Other than that, let's see here. Nothing too much. Some like Gostisbehere a little bit, but I'm not too much about it. Anything else on your end?
Yeah, I mean, not a whole lot to add. In general, I think I want to stay away from this game. But just to add on Voracek, it seemed like last year he went through just a dismal time of shooting luck. That's almost started again this year. Through, 5 games now? He has 13 shots and no goals, but he has 9 assists. So, I mean, if Philly continues to produce kind of offense, he should be racking up goals in no time, and he has still been an awesome fantasy player so far this season. So, yeah, he's definitely a name to keep an eye on. Really like him in tournaments against the Florida team that has started hot in terms of their expected goals against. I don't hate them, but I also don't think they'll be one of the league's best teams. So you could look for some regression there. But in general, Voracek's just a pretty nice overall play. Toronto at Washington. I kind of said it in jest, but this game, I mean, if it doesn't end up as the highest over-under and the most owned game of the night, I would be very surprised. It's pretty crazy, but Toronto has played how many games now? Let's see. Let me just count these real quick. But on Corsica, if you look at the Manny created stat called K, which is essentially like his wins above replacement attempts. As a team, Toronto has created something. Now I can't speak whether it's actually wins above replacement, but it's essentially a catch-all statistic, and they lead the entire NHL with 7.5 K through. Crap, I never looked at how many games they played. But anyways, they're at 7.5. The next closest team is Dallas at 2.5. And then the teams kind of range from 2 to -1.5. So, like, I don't know what Toronto was doing to like be so far off the charts good in that manner. But you kind of see it when you look at their 5-on-5 numbers. I mean, again, limited sample, but you should expect the team to be one of the best offensive teams in the league. Through 5 games now, Toronto has a 4 expected goals per 60, just at 5-on-5. Next closest is Edmonton at 3.5, and Pittsburgh at 2.9. So like Toronto is heads and shoulders above every other team in the league in terms of their offensive creation. The only problem is, where is it going to come from? You know, that's just always the problem with Toronto. They never really seem to play a guy for 20 minutes. Like Matthews is awesome, but he also only plays 17 minutes a night. So, Doug, do you have any further insights on this game and maybe Toronto in particular?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like they're a high producing team, but it's hard to put a finger on who's going to be the one that scores the goals. I mean, and that's sort of the thing that scares fantasy players the most is not being able. It's great to play a guy on a bad team if you know he's going to be the one that's carrying all the weight on the team, like Tavares and the Islanders. It's always a good bet to play Tavares, but my fear with Toronto is you never know where it's going to come from. And I mean, in a game like this where I think it's going to be wide open, it could come from anywhere, and that's a red light for me in terms of trying to find fantasy plays. Is somebody's going to be scoring, but it might not be my guys. So I think that's kind of the stance I'm going to be looking at it.
Yeah. So I guess if you're looking to stack this game, obviously you have Nylander, Matthews stack. Nylander's still pretty cheap. I wouldn't necessarily call him like a cash lock or anything, but Matthews at 8,000 is, same price as McDavid, 100 less. So I mean that's always a tough sell. However, I mean he's really good, but Willie Nylander is 5.8, has pretty much made his he's made the highlight reel at least feeding Matthews. So I can certainly see that working out for them. The main news from practice on Monday was Mitch Marner is now a fourth liner playing with Matt Martin. He and Connor Brown switched their places in the lineup on Monday. So if that happens, like just don't play Mitch Marner. Yeah, I mean it's tough to find a play in this game. I can't say like yeah they're not in play at all. We haven't even talked about Ovechkin yet. I know Sim has a kind of just a raw like frequency. Does the Sim like Ovechkin's spot here, given the rest of the slate? Kind of like where does he fit in terms of these stud players, be it center, or winger, or defense?
I mean, yeah, he's definitely the highest ranked wing. I've been using these pickle scores to kind of combine these frequency magnitude stats in a way that's more fantasy point related. And he is, other than Voracek, highest on the slate. So I would say that the Sim definitely loves Ovechkin in this spot. His frequency, 36% chance to exceed his salary-based expectation, and he's 8.2. So, I mean, that's nothing to scoff at on its own. Ownership, they have him second highest on the slate. So, but in a slate that's this big, I'm not that worried. I'm not too concerned about ownership. Ownership will be spread out. I think you're right in that this game will be the highest owned, but I still love Ovechkin in this spot, and I'll probably be playing him. That pickle score is great for cash games just because it combines that frequency and weights it more heavily. So I would play Ovechkin in cash.
Yeah, I mean it's easy to look at his production so far this season and say, oh, 9 goals in 6 games, he's going to come back to earth. But I mean, you look at what he's doing in
What's
6
earth?
games. In 6 games he has 35 shots. Even if he converted at his career average, 12 and a half or so is Ovi's career shooting percentage. I mean, he would still have about 5 goals in 6 games. And given his shot floor, given the matchup against a Toronto team that, again, they play a very high-paced game, so they're not great defensively either. Like, it's just incredible. So I'm not scared off at all by Ovechkin, any facet of him besides the fact that there's just a ton of plays on the slate. But I mean, obviously he's the top winger on the slate. But you kind of got to be conscious when you look at guys like Burns at home, Carlson's back, and then the stud center who we're going to talk about obviously there's Crosby, McDavid, Matthews, but there's also Sagan, Eichel. Like, there's so many names here that I think you just kind of have to be smart in where you get your exposure and what spots you like the most. So, but yeah, you were saying what's Earth? I mean, Ovechkin's Earth is different than any other player in fantasy hockey except maybe Brent Burns.
You proceeded to go right into it. Yeah, it's like he comes back down to earth, and he's still one of the highest shooting players in the NHL and one of the most prolific scorers in the NHL, who gets tons of time on the power play, whose power play. My mom and I were talking on the phone, and my mom goes, "Oh my gosh, I was watching the Capitals, and it just feels like all they do is try to give Ovechkin the puck to shoot into the net." I was like, "Mom, you should play fantasy hockey." like
she gets it.
Said something like that sounded like Matt-esque, and like the all they did was just kept feeding and cycling to feed Ovechkin on the point. And I'm like, Mom, you sound like Matt right now talking about analyzing these power play strategies or whatever. I remember Matt last year used to always tell me like, oh, you got to play Tarasenko because the power play just cycles through him or whatever. I was listening to my mom give me a lecture on power play cycling. I'm like, all right, so.
Yeah, I mean, she's not wrong though. Like, that is the Ovechkin way. So in this matchup, like, he is in line for a smash night. So, fade him at your own risk is essentially my warning. So from that game, we'll go to Tampa at New Jersey. Maybe the worst. Actually, Doug, did you have any other plays from Toronto, Washington before?
I think, you sort of hit on Carlson. Carlson, another really high pickle scores, highest pickle score among all defensemen on the slate. So big upside, but high floor in Carlson too. I mean, you sort of hit on that, but Carlson's definitely one that I would toss into the ring at 5'7". I think he's still worth it, but let's keep going.
Cool. So yeah, from that euphoric high of a hockey game, the 7:30 games start, and you have Tampa Bay at New Jersey, and then Vancouver at Ottawa, like two of the biggest sludge fests on the slate. Let's start with Tampa Bay at New Jersey. A lot of people are going to look at what New Jersey's doing and be like, yeah, like, I can see playing, someone like, I don't know, Will Butcher, who, it's probably not Butcher, it's probably Butcher because that's how you say it, Butcher, you idiot. But in 5 games, he has 8 assists. That's good. But he's playing 14 minutes a night, and he has a combined 9 shots plus blocks on the season. I mean, he's not doing enough for me to consider him fantasy relevant. His price is all the way up at 4,000 right now. And then I think the other places that you would look is obviously the Tampa Bay side of Kucherov, Stamkos, but on a back-to-back, I just don't really have much interest, especially now that they're a little bit more expensive than they were last week when they were complete locks. So, Doug, any further insights into this game?
Not really. There's no one from New Jersey that the sim likes it. Nobody breaks 0.8 on the scale, and there's not even very many high frequency plays on the scale. Sim sort of likes Hersher, but not really. Nothing that I'm going to be betting the farm on there. I mean, I think Tampa Bay's in a decent spot, but the game's going to be slow. New Jersey is in the top 5 in terms of most expected goals given up per 60, so that's something to think about. Tampa Bay is definitely stackable, but yeah, I'm not loving anything from New Jersey. I think the game's going to be pretty slow with Tampa coming off a back-to-back too. I'd probably stay away, but a flyer GPP stack on Tampa Bay, I could get on board with that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't really have. There's not really too much value on either of these teams, unless you're looking to go back to the Jasper Bratwell. I mean, I don't even know. Like, he's put up 0 points and 0.5 in the last 2 games. That's kind of what you should expect from him going forward. He's, it's not like he's going to come in and be a stud or anything. So, yeah, I'll say let's just move on. Vancouver at Ottawa. If you missed Hoffman night like I did on Saturday, shame on you. The guy was 4.8, but coming off a back-to-back. So I'm like, I don't have to play Hoffman. All he does, he had 7 shots and a goal the night before. He's going against an Edmonton team that has more talented defensemen, or I guess I should say less talented defensemen than the freaking Buffalo Sabres. Like, they're terrible on defense.
Was this
Like,
the night that I played him as my I picked him as my guaranteed goal based on your recommendation? Or
yes,
well,
that
yeah,
is correct.
He was literally so much of a no-brainer. I didn't think about it, and you picked him for me. Like, that was how big of a no-brainer this play
Like,
was. You felt comfortable just telling me, and I was like, okay, sounds good. And then he burns you and not me.
the sim was just like, oh my god, like, look at Hoffman. Like, this price is absolutely ridiculous.
He's grabbing you by
4.8.
the shoulders and just shaking you.
Like,
wake up.
So he gets 2 goals, 1 assist. He puts 4 shots on net. There's 10 points right there. Like, 4.8, like, oh my god, take it to the bank. But wait, Mike Hoffman, the guy who is allergic to pucks, like, he never plays defense, basically. He even blocks 2 shots for you.
Like, he was putting in work.
Just unbelievable. But yeah, 5.3. And now he's at home against a terrible Vancouver team. Like, don't let him bite you twice. That is all I can say. Like,
yeah,
there's
the
a
sim
ton
is
of
reading your mind there. Highest frequency floor player of all players in the slate, including defensemen.
And that's rare. That is very rare.
Very rare. Defensemen make up like the top 20 usually in that category. And in this game, he's number 1. 42% chance to break his salary-based expectation at 5.3. The sim is in love. So I'm not avoiding it. 9.97 pickle score.
And then consider Erik Karlsson will be back. I think Karlsson is very much in play at 6.7, but you have to think they're going to ease him in, given that he is playing hockey without half of an ankle bone. Sounds terrible, but Erik Karlsson is the man.
Literally so easy.
And then I think the other point of note is that recently the Senators have been playing with 7 defensemen. So keep an eye on that as well. If they go back down to 6, like most normal teams do, then I think Karlsson is a bit better of a play. But if there's 7 defensemen plus Karlsson first game back, like, I would just take Hoffman and rely on the fact that the Ottawa power play kind of runs through Hoffman the same way it does with Ovechkin, just on the opposite point. And yeah, take it to the bank. So that's really all I have for Vancouver, Ottawa. Otherwise, it's just not all that interesting.
It's interesting that you are so impressed that Karlsson can play without half of his ankle, but you played with 2 left skates for your entire hockey career, and you didn't seem to have that many problems. Zing.
and 2 right hands.
No, just 1 arm. You don't need any arms to back check. Matt was a prolific back checker because he was always behind the play. But coach,
did you tell him about the time in the video session? Coach stopped the camera. I was like, "Yo, watch Matt Moody right here, just flying back on the back check."
Oh my gosh! Everybody else is like, "Who cares?" We've got all-star goaltender Justin Keane in that. We're not letting up any goals. Shout out to Justin Keane.
Just watch us score all of the goals. So, yeah. I had a prolific high school hockey career. In case anyone wants to ask about it, I'll be more than happy to share all my stories.
Captain of the JV team as a junior.
That's me, all right. That's kind of why I got into this statistics stuff, because it's much easier to watch hockey than to play hockey. That's for sure.
You asked a teacher, "What's the farthest thing away from playing actual hockey that I could possibly do?" And they were like, analyzing hockey in spreadsheets, and you were like, sold.
All right. Moving on to Colorado at Nashville. News notes. Roman Josi should play. I also said this on Thursday, and I don't believe that he played. So actually, he might have. No, he didn't. So yeah, I mean, it kind of takes a glimmer off of someone like P.K. Subban. Someone like Samuel Girard, who, saw a pretty big role with Josi out of the lineup, will now be, relegated back to third pair. Probably no power play time. and he's priced up, so no thanks there. Matthias Ekholm is still relatively inexpensive, given what I think of the player and his fantasy relevance. But 3.6 against Colorado should play an ungodly. Oh my God, look at his game log. He has 23, and then when Yossi went out, he put up 27 in 31 minutes. Wow. So he'll probably be back somewhere in the 24-25 range, but still for 3.6, that's like completely acceptable. Just don't expect him to be out there getting you multiple points. So, but the blocks and shots should come with him, get you at least maybe 2 points, and you can move on and be happy with whatever else he pitches in. So, any thoughts on Nashville's forwards or Colorado or anyone?
Yeah, the Sim is interested in Filip Forsberg. He had a goal on the power play last game. I was just looking; he's at 6.8. He's the highest projected player on Nashville. I like that. I like the let's see, other offense. Nothing too standing out. Nothing much standing out, but Forsberg. I'm not interested in playing anything on the Colorado side. I don't think anything has any upside that I'm going to be chasing. So that's pretty much all for me.
Yeah, if this were a professional production, I would go back into the archives and pull up last Tuesday's show where I said, "Hey, Forsberg against Philly on a Tuesday." You know what they say? Forsberg plus Tuesdays equals fantasy production.
Oh.
And I put up 2 goals, 2 goals, an assist, 4 shots, 2 block shots, aka Mike Hoffman. He put that up last Tuesday against Philly. Here against Colorado at home. That should be, keep that in mind if you like to take a stroll down Narrative Street.
Oh,
and
everyone
in
knows
general,
Morning Skate is most accurate on Tuesdays.
That is nothing but facts.
Look for the stats on our website.
Yep. All right. So if you had asked me at the beginning of the season what this next game would have looked like, just a week, 2 weeks, I don't even know how far we're into the year. It's been a long season already. 2 weeks into the year, Columbus at Winnipeg. You would have thought, wow, like up and down the ice, like track meet, like that sort of thing. According to the early results, not so much. Winnipeg and Columbus are both within the bottom, or I guess the top 8 in terms of expected goals against per 60. And when you look at their offensive numbers, they are also, quick math, let's see, Winnipeg is bottom 5 in the league, and then Columbus is right around league average. So, I mean, definitely not what we would have thought from these 2 teams. But, there's a much larger sample given last season, given some of those numbers. So, Doug, do you want to walk me through what the Sim says about this game to not further cloud my recency bias?
Yes. So, in terms of, we'll start with Winnipeg. The Sim's really not in love with the Winnipeg side on this game at all. Bufflin, a normal favorite of the Sim, really not showing very strongly on the Sim at all. So,
and he's only 5.4.
Yeah,
it's remarkable.
It's interesting. I would have to look into the numbers onto why he is the highest floor player listed for Winnipeg, but not 39% is not anything that I would say is like, oh wow, I need to be playing Bufflin in my cash games or anything like that. Decent amount of leverage because they don't think that he's going to be very high owned, but yeah, no, really, nothing screaming at me on this Winnipeg side at all. As far as the Blue Jackets go, Panarin continues to be the one star that the Sim has been picking out. He's just been playing outstanding, really moving the puck well. Did you see his overtime move?
It was nasty, yeah.
Oh, and then shoots it off Wenberg into the net. That was great. But yeah, I mean, he's been playing so well for the Blue Jackets. He's been really fun to watch, really explosive player out there. Although Saad had a hat trick in their first game, I think that the Blue Jackets made off the best in that trade for Panarin. But the Sim's favorite stack of the night would be Columbus 1, the ones that play power play and line 1, Panarin, Atkinson, Werenski. Oh, not Foligno. Well, Foligno, but I would not play Foligno
Yeah.
if you were wise. Um,
So
but
through well, dang it. However many games they've played, for some reason I took that out of our 10-day R code or Python code. I took out the number of games played in the sample.
nice.
So let's see, through 5 games now. Um, Kind of interesting in terms of their shot attempts per game on an individual basis. Uh, Nick Foligno, you just mentioned, he's at 1.8. Not good, but really every member of their team is below 4, except for Seth Jones, Zach Werenski, and David Savard. It's really interesting.
Yeah, Jones is
I don't.
interesting. I've I've been watching. He had some power play one time, correct? We were talking about that before, but I think he was. I'm trying to find
Yeah, I
last
want to say.
game's game log. They haven't
I want
played
to say he
since
had just a
13.
little bit. Yeah.
Let me look.
Um,
No, he was all power play 2 last game with Werenski playing all the power play one time. So, but interesting power play 2 option playing with Bjorkstrand, Dubinsky, Pierre-Luc Dubois, and Sonny Milano, the guy who I scoffed at and then proceeded to score 2 goals in the game afterwards. So,
but yeah, so I think the defense are well in play. It is interesting that through 5 games now, Werenski's averaging about 2 to 3 minutes less a night or less per night than Seth Jones. Last year they were pretty much equal, and I'm not sure if that's because they're not playing together. It looks like they're still playing together, but Seth Jones just seems to get a little bit more penalty kill time, which I guess really is the main difference there. Um, but every minute counts when it comes to projecting fantasy, especially on such a big slate. Like you kind of want every minuscule edge there is. So with Seth Jones really shooting the puck, like uh, one of the top defensemen in the league right now in terms of shot attempts per game. Laurenti's right there too, but both guys are fine plays, and I don't think you're crazy to roster one of those guys, despite what the early season results might tell you about the expected goals against per team. So, speaking of expected goals against on a team level, let's move to Arizona at Dallas. Um, if I had asked you at the beginning of the season which one of these two teams was more likely to be in the number one position for expected goals against after 2 weeks now of the season, would you have been more likely to pick Arizona, Dallas, or a plastic bag floating in the breeze?
ooh, that plastic bag is tricky. See, the sim doesn't take into account plastic bag. So, there's really no way to know.
Yeah, the Dallas Stars through 5 games have an expected goals against at 5.5, score adjusted of 1.59. That is mind blowing. Like they have been very good defensively. I do want to argue that it's mostly schedule related because they have played Colorado, Vegas. Um, let's see, Colorado, Vegas, Nashville, Detroit, St. Louis. Not really any, firepower squads that you would expect there. So I think that would come back to earth a bit. But Arizona's been god awful. So um,
And
just
they're playing a third string goalie, possibly.
yeah, yeah. So the news and notes from Arizona is looks like Antti Ranta is out for the foreseeable future, leaving Louis Domingue and someone named Aiden Hall. Aiden Hill. Aiden Hill. That is all I'm going to say about him. I have no idea who he is, but one of those two guys is going to start in Dallas against this line of Sagan, Ben, Radulov, Klingberg, like big guys all there. This seems like fun. And the last news for Arizona is Radim Verbata. Sorry, not Radim Verbata. Tobias Reeder on line 1 now, taking the place of Clayton Keller. So you Keller people, you probably can't play him anymore, sadly. But anyways, Dallas side, Doug, tell me about how many Dallas Stars I should be playing in my lineup tonight.
I think you should be playing all of the Dallas Stars tonight. Although I will say that I was looking at Arizona first, which is why I'm just going to talk about Arizona before I talk about Dallas. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, our favorite to win the Norris this year, who hasn't really been doing anything. Last game scored and played 24 minutes. His salary went down 100 since last game after he scored 6 fantasy points. He's had 2 or more shots in every game so far this year. He had 4 blocked shots last game. I mean, we're going to be talking about how Dallas is going to be bringing the heat. I don't hate Ekman-Larsson at all in that spot. He's going to be facing a ton of shots, chances to block. I think he's going to be doing Ekman-Larsson things like shooting the puck and scoring goals, getting assists. I don't know. He's gonna be doing it all, and he's gonna get decent ice time. So that's just one take I want to get out of the way before we talk about Dallas. In terms of Dallas plays that the sim likes the most, Sagan's right at the top. That elite level consistency combined with magnitude, high frequency plays. Hey, Tyler Seguin again. But Klingberg as well, Jamie Benn. Let's see if any low price guys that kind of stick out for me. How do you feel about Esa Lindell? I don't really know anything about him. They've got him listed line 2 PP2.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he does play. He plays with Klingberg at 5-on-5. So I mean, I'll say he's never out of play, especially when he's in that mid threes range. He gives you some Klingberg exposure, and typically at home he'll play a majority, maybe not a majority, but he'll play more than his fair share of 5-on-5 time with the Sagan line. So I mean, that's fine. I think on a slate this big, you're just not gonna want to kind of go with someone like that just because he's not all that talented. I mean, he's just kind of your typical blah two-way defenseman.
Yeah.
But matchup makes sense and the exposures make sense. So I think the main story here is Tyler Seguin is probably the top fantasy producing center in the league. I want to repeat that. I think Tyler Seguin is the most daily fantasy relevant center in the entire NHL. Just given his line mates, given his shot floor, given his just everything. He is so spectacular. And the fact that he's not quite priced up to the super elite range. So in this matchup, I think Seguin is where you'll start with your cash games. And it's not really all that close of a consideration for me.
So who do you think the sim says has the highest floor among greater than 6K centers on the slate? All centers, that's it. Above 6K.
Crosby?
No, sir. We have not mentioned him yet.
Really? Oh. Okay. Are we mentioning him in this next game or not?
I bet we are, although I don't know the order that we're going in.
Oh, well, it's either McDavid or Eichel. So let's just go to Carolina at Edmonton. Yeah, we have the struggling McDavids, who, like I said, actually, they might be the floating plastic bag on defense that I mentioned the last hypothetical.
Yeah, they prefer to be called the Edmonton Oilers.
The Edmonton Tire Fires. They're doing stuff. Draisaitl is out. McDavid is still very good, but I mean, he literally, as surprising as it may not sound, he hasn't been able to do it all by himself. So, keep that in mind. But I mean, even though his team has just been horrendous around him, he has 5 points and 19 shots in just 4 games. So he is absolutely a play. It looks like Kyler Yamamoto is going to stick on that first line with him and Maroon, at least while Draisaitl's out. Yamamoto's already priced up to 5K on DraftKings. I have no interest there. And then I think Klefbom is worth a look, but I got burned bad by him on Saturday night. So I don't know if I'm going to go back to that well just yet, given the fact that Carolina is going to be a good team. So any Edmonton takes before I drop the hot Carolina fire on the listener.
I was just looking at Clefbaum. He had 9 shots 4 games ago. That's crazy. But
Yep. First game of the
in the
year.
first game of the season. Yeah, I was going to say Clefbaum's the only other one that I would even consider playing. His frequency's higher, but his overall stats, he's miles away from McDavid in the Sims eyes. But he's a decent play, 5.3 defenseman. So I don't hate Clefbaum, but yeah, McDavid would be the only person I'm really interested on the Edmonton side. But without further ado, hit us with those fiery hot Carolina Hurricane takes.
Okay, so in practice on Monday morning, they switched up the lines, and it looks like no longer will Jordan Staal be centering Sebastian Aho and Elias Lindholm, two of, if you've listened before, two of our favorite players here on the show, but a recent first rounder named Martin Necas. Did I pronounce that right, Mr. Levy?
Necas. Martin Necas.
He will be centering the top line for Carolina at the nice, juicy price of $2,500 on DraftKings.com, going against this Edmonton team. I know Doug looked into some of the numbers on Necas, but essentially he's a very talented offensive player. Looks like they're just trying to get a look at him before they kind of decide whether they want to send him back to the, I guess you could go to the AHL or the Czech Republic. I'm not sure how exactly that league works in terms of can he play in the AHL or not, but they have 9 games to figure it out, and it looks like they're giving him a pristine role to really kind of make it or fail. Like, as an 18-year-old, it obviously won't be the end of his career, but yeah, Martin Necas, 2.5 Carolina Hurricanes, centering Elias Lindholm and Sebastian Aho. All you need to know, just roster them.
The plus minus monster. Over 2 seasons in U16, he was plus 100, and it was averaging 2.1 points per game, 149 points in 70 games. That was U16. As an international juniors, he has 70 points in 61 games. And then in the Czech League, he has 15 points in 40 games. So that dude's crazy. Best plus minus, most assists, and most points in the 2014-15 Czech season. So say no more.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up his hockey reference to see if he played in the World Juniors or not. But let's see.
He played in the he played as an 18-year-old and a 20-year-old, 3 points in 5 games in both of them.
Okay. So, I mean, that's more of the talent level that, is probably projectable in the future, but obviously small sample size, and the fact he's playing with the Czech Republic doesn't necessarily benefit him all that much. So, with that news aside, I think there's still a lot of value here on the Carolina side, even without considering Necas at 2.5. Elias Lindholm is still playing 20 minutes a night, and he hasn't been overly productive, but it's only been 3 games. I mean, that's kind of tough when you're looking at some teams where you're looking at 6 games, 5 games. Carolina's kind of forgotten the season has started, so they're only at 3 games, the only team in the NHL to have only played 3. So that'll probably, 1, help ownership just because they're less prevalent in people's minds, and 2, it'll really make their seasonal numbers just really wonky. But Elias Lindholm, Sebastian Aho, and Necas are probably the top value stack of the night, especially if you want to try and fit in some Sagans, some, McDavids. Like, there's so many names to spend on. I think using that line as an opportunity to save is very smart. So, any Carolina guys that I missed on that you want to talk about? I know we talked about Edmonton already. So
yeah, I think the only guy that you didn't really say anything about was Justin Falk. Did you? I don't think you did.
No, he is quite good at professional ice hockey.
Yes, he is 5.2, highest floor of any defenseman on Carolina. Probably one of the highest on the slate. Don't hate him. I don't think that at 5.2 he's the best option. I think there's more surefire 5.2 defenseman on the slate, but I think he's definitely worth it. I don't think that he's a bad play. I just think there's a ton of good plays on an 11-game slate like this. I'll probably be looking elsewhere for my 5,000 level defensemen like Carlson, Shattenkirk, players like that. But yeah, not something to scoff at either.
All right, understood. You know, Hulk is one of the better offensive defensemen in terms of shot rate in the league, so the price is fair. I think he stacks well, like you mentioned. So, you know, he's a fine play. Let's go to Buffalo at Vegas. You mentioned kind of the toilet bowl. You know, the one main, I think, key note for this game is that Jack Eichel against one, they're super injured. Two, they're an expansion team, so they're super bad. And three, not even starting Marc-Andre Fleury, who's out due to a concussion, but Malcolm Subban. Jack Eichel is 6,600. I mean, guy has done all he can to keep the Sabres relevant. Not really working because if you follow me on Twitter, you'll know this, but watching Sabres is like watching Eichel skate around in circles and then pass through a bunch of scarecrows. Like, it is beyond frustrating. You know, I know he's not playing with Reinhart, which really, I mean, that's probably the main reason, just because Reinhart can think the game the same way Eichel can. But I am officially worried 6 games into this NHL season that we are going to be looking at Eichel the same way we do John Tavares and say, like, wow, what could he have done with some actual players next to him? It's not good. Not good in Buffalo. So besides Eichel, I'm staying away from this game. Doug, any values on Vegas or Buffalo catch your eye? Because I know there's a lot of deep players here.
Yeah, Sim likes James Neal on Vegas. Buffalo is I marked down all the teams in the top 5 on the slate in terms of goals against per 60. Buffalo is in that category. James Neal, decent play, not anyone I'm going to be playing, but definitely, I mean, head and shoulders above the rest of the players on the team in terms of value and expected payoff. I love Eichel. Eichel was the one that I was going for with the above 6K centers. He has the highest floor of any player on the slate. So,
wow.
So
I just assumed it was McDavid.
No, Jack Eichel, our boy. Yeah, but I mean, you're right. He has nothing around him. It's an interesting. I would be interested in stacks with that Eichel line with like a Eichel Ristolainen, and then maybe let's see. I don't even think there's.
He's been playing with Kane and Pominville. They got Gergensen up there a little bit, but it's just kind of a work in progress.
But it's sort of like with Tavares, what I would sort of talk about last year, where if Tavares is going to do well, somebody's bound to have accidentally passed him the puck or something. Or in Eichel's case, more than likely they're skating and they accidentally drifted in front of the net, and Eichel bounces the puck off of them into the goal, or physically picks their stick up and uses it to score. So I mean, there's a chance.
That's what he has to do.
Vegas is so bad. So
like
Vegas is terrible, and everyone thinks Vegas is great now. So.
Yeah, it's a really good opportunity to jump on that. I mean, because, you know, last year, Eichel was 3rd in the NHL in attempted shots per 60 minutes. Like, he is an exceptional shooter. He's going to try and create his own offense as he increasingly gets frustrated. Like you said, he needs to pick up some people's sticks just for them to score a goal. I kid you not, this weekend I watched the entire LA game and Anaheim game. You know, he has 7.6 games. In those 2 games, he should have had at least 4 additional assists, putting pucks right on people's tapes, and they either hit it right into the goalie, missed the net, they just completely missed the puck because they're an embarrassment to ice hockey.
Easy, Matt. Easy, boy. Down, boy. It's going to be okay. Buffalo will be good in like 40 years. Easy.
Yeah. That said, Eichel is averaging over 4 PK points per game on the season. Should only go up from here, and they're going against a god-awful team in Vegas. So, yes, strongly agree with him. Play Jack Eichel. Last game of the night. Oh, actually, one more name on Vegas that I wanted to mention. Brad Hunt played 20 minutes. If you don't remember Brad Hunt from last year, he was in the St. Louis farm system, got called up for a couple games when they got injured and Shattenkirk, I think. But in the minors, he was an exceptional shot producer and like one of those like, oh my god, how is this guy not in the NHL in terms of his points and his goals, assists, power play stuff, phenomenal. And now that he's now that he's on a legitimate AHL team in Vegas, just playing in the NHL, he's going to see 20 minutes. He's going to play power play time, and at a 3 point, where did he go? At 3.1 on DraftKings, I think he's worth a punt. Um, you know, he's not going to be significantly owned, so don't really worry about that. But I think he's good to get you 1.5 or 2 points with some upside, just because Buffalo's been not great this season. So, yeah, last game of the night, Montreal at San Jose. Given everything we know about this slate, I'm honestly not sure if I'll be playing Brent Burns. It's so weird because Brent Burns is 7.5, but like, there's a lot of defensemen that I'm looking at and think, wow, for 5.5 for 5K, I really like them. And I think I want to spend up on those two centers like we're talking about, Sagan and Eichel. So, Doug, are you going to be playing Brent Burns, or are you going to try to be saving a bit more here?
So I'll let you guess, of all players in the NHL or that are on this slate, what number do you think Burns is in terms of this pickle rating? What number do you think he is?
Let me go 6.
20.
Wow.
That is concerning to me. I'm not sure exactly what it is that's driving it so low. His frequency isn't very high either, but yeah, he's only in the 0.8s. Like that's good, but not elite level like frequency combined with your magnitude. So I'm not going to be playing it. I don't think that he's shown enough this year. I know the Sim's just starting to incorporate this season's data in too, so it could have something to do with that as well. But I'm not interested in it. I mean, Vegas lines are just coming out now, so that could change the Sim's mind a little bit. But as far as what I'm looking at right now, the Sim says no Burns, and I'm okay with it. Like you said, there's tons of other options, and I don't think that Burns has done enough Burns things for me to start believing yet.
Yeah, I mean, there's some glimmers of hope. Like last game, Burns had 5 block shots, 6 shots on goal, got you 5.5 DraftKings point without even having to score a point. San Jose is a mess right now. Like they can't figure out what they want to do with their lines. Their power play has looked awful. So I mean, I think you're really risking it going against a Montreal team that I think is going to be. Well, I don't know if I still think they'll be the best team in the Atlantic, but like I think they'll be a very good team, despite their early season struggles. And paying this much for someone in such a kind of not a great matchup as Burns is, I just don't think is very smart. Same thing kind of goes for Pacioretty. I don't think he's nearly as fantasy relevant overall as Burns is, but I mean, obviously Burns is on a whole different level. I'm just not interested in spending up on guys in this sort of game. So, yeah, I mean,
Agreed.
Keep an eye on Morning Skate to see how the lines shake out, especially for San Jose. Someone like Tomas Hertl could be viable, playing about 20 minutes a night alongside Couture. But I mean, that's been iffy at the beginning of the season, and it seems like they're really going to start switching the lines up now, especially that they've lost to the Islanders in their last game. So, that they're just struggling. Keep an eye for value. So someone like Timo Meier might be able to jump into that top unit. But yeah, any other strong takes from this game before we guarantee some goals and close out the show?
I think just one more I was keeping an eye on. Shea Weber played 27 minutes last game, but didn't have he only had 1 fantasy point. Before that, he's been playing about 25 minutes a night. Had 5 shots 2 games ago, 3-2. He's got a decent floor. He's a little bit expensive for my taste, 5-6, but definitely a cash viable play. I don't love the matchup, but I think it's fine. So it's just somebody I would keep an eye on. Not somebody I'm going to be jamming in or anything, but decent play.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. So now that this monstrosity of a slate is covered, accounted for, let's guarantee some goals. I know that you come up with some to.
I know who I
beginning.
want.
All right, take who you want.
All right, I want Hoffman and Voracek.
Going back on that Hoffman train. I like it.
Hey, he's just too cheap. I mean,
right.
I don't know if we ever talk about the fact that we changed the guaranteed goals to a salary sum. Like, I don't know, just with him that cheap and playing the salary sum game, I love being able to go down that low and then still take somebody over 6K. So
yeah, I think I will kind of not match you, but I think I'll kind of just go on a similar vein. I'm going to go guaranteed goal. Rick Nash playing on that first line against Pittsburgh, first power play as well. Rick Nash and Jack Eichel. Jack Eichel
like
going to put the team on his back like he's going to do the entire season. And hey, maybe Thursday I'll be singing the Sabres praises.
Don't hold your breath.
Yeah. I know we have another small slate on Wednesday, so don't expect a lot from us. So we'll see you guys on Thursday. Be sure to follow us on Twitter. Leave us a review on iTunes if if you're feeling kind. Remember, DJ offered to sing any review that you left on iTunes, so take him up on that one. And yeah, check out our website, morningskatepod.com. Doug recently got kind of a cease and desist from what we use to post the sim on a daily basis, but they gave us a week to kind of figure it out, or we're going to have to pay a lot of money, which we don't want to do. So we're going to figure it out and host it in another way. But it's been reason that they kind of gave him this order was that a lot of people have been checking it out and spending a lot of time on it. So we really appreciate that. It's really cool to see that.
Yeah, don't stop doing that. That's how we know we're doing a good job. Yeah, we were limited to 25 hours of use this month before the 31st of October, and on the 14th I got an email saying we had broken 100 hours already, and that they were going to take it down on the 21st if I didn't do anything about it. So so unless you've got $100 to spare, I think we're in the works to find something for free. We're not going to charge you guys to look at it. We just got to find a different service to post the brilliant sim on. But yeah, no, it's actually it was very humbling to know that people actually care about what we're posting on here.
So thank you again for listening. Be sure to follow Doug and myself on Twitter. I'm at Fake Moods. Doug is at Doug_Levy. Is that right?
Nope, all one word.
Oh, it's just Doug Levy. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, DJ's underscore Mitchell.
Yeah, DJ's the underscore. So from DJ and from Doug and from myself. Have a good slate, everyone, and we will see you.